Hey everybody, today we're going to be taking a look at this, the Merlin RTA by Augvape, right here on my vaping place. Hey everybody, Joe here. Nice of you to join me today. Thanks for coming. All right, what we're going to be taking a look at today is this, the Merlin RTA by Augvape. Now, this tank has been out for a couple of months now, and it's gotten a very good reputation for itself. I've had this thing for, about a month and a half, give or take a little bit now, and I have put it through its paces in many different configurations. So, without further ado, let's go down to the build deck. We'll take a look and see how this little puppy handles itself and what it's made of. And we'll slap a build in here, come back up and discuss it a little bit, okay? So, without further ado, see you down below decks. Okay, folks, here we are down on the build deck, and we're going to be taking a look at this today. The Merlin RTA by Augvape and designed by Roxy. Now, this is the way it's going to come to you when you get it in the store. Nice clear clamshell package. And it's going to have this little paper band on here. And as you can see, the paper band just has the name on there and the Augvape logo. So we're going to take that off and take a look and see what else we have in here. Okay, let's open up. Before we do, let's take a look at the packaging. You got the Merlin name here, Augvape, Merlin, Augvape. And on the back, you're going to have the specifications for the tank as well as the contents of the package. This is a 23 millimeter diameter outside diameter tank, 4 milliliter capacity. It claims that it can be used single and dual coil, and I'm sure it can, but the dual coil, not so much. Not so much. I'll show you more about that when we take a look at the actual build deck of this tank. 1.8 millimeter post holes, 3 millimeter juice feed holes, top filling, very large slits in there for juicing this thing up. Juice flow control, dual adjustable airflows. This has a 3.5 millimeter under the coil air hole with a 2.4 millimeter stainless steel insert. All right, I'll show you more about that. That's another important feature on this tank. 510 drip tip compatible, 47 millimeters tall without the drip tip, and then of course the contents, and of course your obligatory scratch and check authenticity sticker. So we're just going to move this over like so, and let's take this open and take a look and see what we got in here. Well, since this wants to present itself very quickly, you get the standard 1.25 millimeter hex key here, which is what you use for tightening the velocity deck that's on here, or a velocity style deck, I should say. The grub screws on the post. So we're going to put that to one side because we're going to need that again. And here we have the star of the show, the Merlin by Augvape. The one that you see I have here is all blacked out. Very nicely done. Smoke glass on here. Copper 510 pin that does protrude a little bit. I don't know if I would be inclined to use this on a mech mod. That's up to you. If you feel that you can get away with this without having any issues, then that's up to you. But all right, suffice to say, copper 510 fully adjustable. Okay, all right, so let's put this over here. Clear glass, we're going to be swapping this out because I prefer the clear glass over the smoke glass. It makes it a little bit easier to see what we got in there juice wise. Now, a notch coil. This comes standard. This is a 0.2 ohm notch coil. This is a little something that they put in here that's not included on the contents, but is actually in the packaging here. Then of course you have your little baggie of extra grub screws, O-rings, etc. So we'll put that to one side. Take out the shipping container here, and of course you have your user's manual. Shows you how to fill it, how to adjust the juice flow control, and on the back it shows you how to wick it and how to set up your coils and how to deal with the airflow reducer. Okay, now as you can see here, they show single coil, dual coil, and the notch coil. The dual coil, yes, this does have the holes in there necessary to do dual coiling, but this really isn't set up for dual coiling for the simple reason there's really not enough room in there for dual wicking. Okay? That's the most important part. That's the reason why I say that this really is designed as a single coil tank. Okay? So let's put that in here, put all the rest of this stuff back in here, and get it out of the way so we can actually start doing some stuff here. Okay? Alright, so clear glass, we're going to put that there. I'm going to take a look at this. Now, this is the 510 drip tip. As you can see, it's Delrin. It's a pretty mucking large drip tip on here. This is a little bit too much for my taste, so we're not going to be using that today. Let me see. Yeah, okay, here we go. I'll use this one. This one came off of an old Kanger tank, so we'll put that there. That's the one we'll be using. Let me get rid of this, get that off camera. Like I said, it's a top fill tank. Pop that off. Now you see what happened there just now? You see that? That O-ring goes right in here. This is one of my problems with this tank. Pretty much one of the only problems I have with this tank. This O-ring, which wants to head for the hills, will come out each and every time you close this thing up if there's not any juice in here to lubricate it. It gets stuck on the bottom here, and when it gets stuck on the bottom, it comes out and gets lost. I don't know how many times I have had to try and find this thing when it decides to head for the hills. Big problem, because this is your juice flow holes here. This is where you fill this thing up. This is your chimney. Without this O-ring in here, if you tilt this to one side and you have a slightly full tank, this juice is going to come up in here. And if this O-ring is not here to stop it, it is just going to go right along underneath here and right down into your chimney, get to your deck, flood out, come out here, mess all over the place. Yeah. So be careful. Whenever, you see that? It just keeps popping out. There's nothing in here holding this thing in place. So yeah, be careful of that. That will give you issues. Okay? So let's take this off here. Take a look at the build deck here. Now, like I said before, you have a copper 510 fully adjustable on here. And this is your build deck. Now, let me bring this up here and see if I can get this thing. Where is the focus? There we go. That's a little better. Okay. So, 1.8 millimeter post holes in here. Take some pretty good size wire. This is the airflow reducer ring, reducer plug I was telling you about right here. Okay, this takes it down from 3.5 down to 2.4 millimeters, which I personally prefer. This thing here is very, very airy with this plug taken out. I've tried it both ways, with and without this plug, with the same exact coil in here, and I'm going to tell you, there's a world of difference. For this child, I'm leaving the plug in. Okay, so it's your choice. You have your juice flow your wicking wells in here. One there, one there. Here's your wick holes. Air holes right here. Air holes come in here, go up through here. And of course your coils go in here, and there's your grub screws. Very simple, very nice deck. Now, as you can see, this is a slight riff on the standard velocity deck. You notice that the deck posts here are on this side. Normally, most velocity decks run right along here like so. But they have actually offset these so that way the coil will sit right here like this. Your wicking comes down and into here. Bada bing, bada boom. Nice. I like this. This design really sings to me. Okay, so basically that's the deck, and we're going to deal with this glass. Now, this glass that's on here is very, very sexy. Okay, it really looks great. I mean, it's sexy as all hell. The only problem is that in a low light situation, such as sitting back watching TV at night and everything else, you look at this, you're not going to be able to see your juice for diddly. I prefer the clear glass here instead of the smoke glass. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out the smoke glass. Now, This thing breaks down completely for cleaning. Unfortunately, there's no knurling on here or on here to allow you to grip this. So if you've got sweaty hands like I've got right now, or if you've got juice covered hands, you're not going to be able to take this thing apart. So this is how you do it. Take a pair of needle nose pliers, stick it right in here like so, and very gently just turn it until the O-rings give. Separate the chimney from the bell housing and take that right off like so. Okay, just like I said, see, smoke glass. Here's the two of them side by side, clear and smoke. Okay, so here's your bell housing. Notice how that is deeply belled in there. That has got such a dome in there. And I'm going to tell you, that's why this thing gives such great, I mean great flavor. Okay, this thing here with a single coil in it gives me almost as good a flavor as my K-Fun 5 replica. Alright, so we're going to put this on here. And of course you got your O-ring there to mate up on the base, that way you don't have any leaks. And another O-ring here to mate up here, and another one in here to keep the juice from flowing past the threads and into your chimney, which would not be good. So we're going to screw this on here, if I can get this thing to catch. Yeah, so I'm going to move this out of the way, put that over there, and we're going to put that there. That goes there, that goes there. Make sure that O-ring is in place. And we're going to break out the 521 tab. And we're going to put this on here. Okay, so to build this, like I said, if you want to take that out, all you have to do is take your screwdriver, go in here, put it into that little slot, and turn. Oh, hold on. Let me put the focus back here. Actually, let me zoom in a little bit here so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. There we go. All right, sorry about that. All right, so like I said, if you want to take out the airflow, you just put your jeweler screwdriver or a regular screwdriver right into that hole, and counterclockwise to take it out, clockwise to put it back into place. Like I said, we're going to leave this in place because I really like the way the airflow on this thing is with this 2.4 millimeter hole in there. So we're just going to leave that in and put that off to one side. Okay, now standard velocity style deck rules apply here. No difference at all. You take your Allen key and let's just see, upside. So top side here. And the reason why I'm doing, check that for a second, is because I've already built the coil. I didn't want, to sit here and go wrapping a coil with you guys here, because I'm sure most of you already know how to wrap a coil. If you don't, there's tutorials out there that will show you how to wrap a coil with a couple of different coil wrapping jigs. So yeah, just basically I didn't want to take up your time, doing that on camera. So yeah, try and make this a little bit shorter, not as long as the last couple of ones I've done. Okay, so we've got those open. Okay, like I said, I already made this coil. It is a 8 wrap, 26 gauge stainless steel 316L wire on a 2.5 millimeter post, and it is a space coil. Okay, it is not a micro coil, it's a space coil. And the reason for that is, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this too well here, but if we take this and we put this on here like so, if it's going to cooperate, a 8 wrap coil spaced, the legs line up almost exactly with this, so you don't have any coil deformation or anything like that when you're putting this thing in. It just happens to work very, very nicely, and that's one of the things I like about this. It works very nicely. So I'll put that in there, and we'll shift this over to this side, and we want to make sure that that's right over the airflow intake. Put that like so, and we'll tighten down this right hand grub screw. Now this thing has got some pretty deep concaves in here on these grub screws. As you can see how far that wire is deflecting to one side. So you can get some pretty thick stuff in here, and you can also get some pretty thin stuff in here as well. And there we go. Nice and tight. Put that in there. Take that out. And let's straighten this up and make sure. Oh, that went a little too far. We gotta pull this in a little bit here. Of course, this time, this coil is not being cooperative. All the other coils I've done today, so far today, have been absolutely cooperative as all get out. This one here is not being cooperative in the slightest. Lovely. Now, one of the nice things about space coils is that you really don't need to go burning them in or anything like that. They just work properly, basically from the get-go. And going to compress that just a little bit, and that's got to come up. That's got to come up a little bit there, like so. Pull that out, center it. There we go. Now, one important thing here. Because these posts are offset from being in the center here like they normally are on most velocity decks, and they've been moved to the side, when you're clipping these leads, you need to make sure that this lead here, this is your negative. This is the one that's attached to the actual housing of the atomizer. Okay? So this one here you don't have to worry about too much, but this little baby right here, okay? This is your positive terminal coming off the battery. This one here you need to make sure is absolutely positively clipped as short as you possibly can get it, right up to the post itself, because if this thing's sticking, got a little piece of wire sticking out and it makes contact with the outer shell of the atomization chamber, the bell housing, you're going to wind up with a hard short, and that's not going to be good. Okay, so there we go, we got that in there. Now, to show you what I was saying but just before about this thing not needing to be burned in. Okay, I was shooting for roughly 0.55 and 6.5, somewhere around there. What do we got? 0.66. Okay. Now, watch this coil as it heats up. Okay, it's going to start heating up right from the center and work its way out just about automatically. There we go. Okay. I don't need to do any adjustments on here at all. Well, actually on this side over here I need to rake it just a little bit. It's just a minor adjustment there. There we go. Perfect coil. On these velocity decks, unless you're using a lot of wraps, if you're using anywhere from 4 wraps to 8 or 9 wraps, go with a space coil. You know, it's just going to save you so much hassle and so much issue. And as you can see, because this thing is a space coil, it's already come back to the 6.4. So yeah, that's how you coil this thing. Now, as you can see here, we're going to be taking this and we're going to be putting a coil right through the center, just like we normally do, and then we're going to be putting it down into these juice well cups here. Now, if you were putting in a dual coil in here, there's really not enough room in here. You'd have to be doing like a 1.5 millimeter coil. So that way the amount of cotton going through the center here is not going to be sufficient enough to take up the entire thing. So you'd have to use a dual coil with that narrow a diameter, inside diameter in there. If you're using 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4 millimeter, it's just not going to work. Just not going to work at all. Your wicking is going to be so compressed in there that you're just not going to be able to turn around and get any decent wicking. Yeah, this really is designed for a single coil. And so what we're going to do is now we're going to wick this thing up, and I'm just going to cut off a little piece of Muji here. I like this pair of tweezers that's there, but I love my dental probe. Okay? I just love working with this dental probe so much more than those tweezers, even though those tweezers are great. They do a wonderful job. This thing here just works better for me. Let's get this back on camera here. That's the one bad thing about zooming in. Things go off camera very, very easily. Where you think that normally they would be on camera, they actually turn out to be not. And that means you have to do A refilm. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to just take this and we're going to spin this into a nice little tube here. And pinch and twist here. Let's get that off because that's just going to be a pain. And pinch and twist again. Feed that in. Twist. Now you want your wicking to go into the coil snugly. If it just starts moving the coil a little bit, that's fantastic. That's another thing about these space coils. You can move these things around like crazy and it's not going to really affect the resistance value. There we go. 5.4, 5.7 is still good. If this was a standard micro coil, this thing would probably be reading up in the ohms by now, okay? And totally unusable. Now, how you're going to wick this has been pretty standard from this point. What you're going to do is you're going to take your cotton and you're going to bring it down here, and right here, you see here where the silver and the black meets, where the thread starts, you're going to take this and you're going to mark it right there. That's your cut line. Get the skizzers out. No, don't worry, I'm not going to cut my finger here. I just want to... There we go. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing for this side over here. Mark it. And these scissors are getting dull. Okay. I love these whiskers. They're great. Okay, so next thing we're going to do now is we're going to fluff this out like so. Get those hard cut marks where the cotton was compressed by the scissors. Get rid of them. See that white line in there? That's where the scissors compress the cotton, and that is not going to wick for diddly. So what we want to do is we want to fluff that out. We want to break those fibers back up into the individual fibers. If you don't do this, you're going to wind up with dry hits. You'll be in dry hit hell. Okay, so there we go. All right, make sure this is on camera here for this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take my probe or your tweezers, whatever you want to do. You want to put that underneath like so, and then basically bend that down like so. And then take this and push that into that little juice well cup there. And you want to make sure all of those fibers get in there. Just like so. Now, one thing I like to do is I like to tease these out as I'm putting this in here, because I want to make sure that all of these fibers get in here, even in the back. Like this. Just push them out. Ah, come on. God, I'm so hot and sweaty here, I can't even think. I'm making stupid little mistakes here. This is like the 20th or 30th coil and wick job I've done on this tank since I've got this. I've been playing with quite a few different coil combinations on here, wicking combinations, etc., to basically to find out what works the best on here. Well, at least for my style of vaping. And this is pretty much, excuse me, this is pretty much the best one that I've found for me. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that this is going to be great for you. Everybody vapes differently. Okay? But this is what works for me. And we want to pull these out here, like so. Push that in there, like so. So you want that to come in here and come popping out that hole while you're doing this. Because then you know that all those fibers, the ends of those fibers, are into that wick well. Pull this up a little. Push these in here. You also want to make sure that that hole is pretty well, nicely stuffed with cotton, because this is what's going to keep this deck from flooding. Like this. Okay. Make sure that's on camera there. Okay. And you want to pop that in there. Yeah, just like that. And yowza. There we go. Okay. That looks pretty decent. Let's check the rating. Now it's saying 0.64. Huh. Wonderful. Okay. Yeah, so airflow there. All right. Let us get out some of our juicy peach apricot and lemon. And this is how we're going to verify that this thing wicks properly. One juice on there. And as you can see, that thing's drinking it right in. Perfect. And over here on this side. Oh yeah. Look at that, drink that in. Oh yeah. That's good. Let's wick the rest of this up here. And make sure that this wick is thoroughly saturated before we put this thing back together. Yeah, a lot of people say just put a couple drops on there, so this way you can see that it's wicking when you fill everything up and you put the top and everything else back on. I don't like doing that. I like to make sure that this thing is fully juiced, that this wick is fully juiced before I put anything on. I start filling anything up, because I want to make sure that the first couple of times I fire this thing, that this thing's not going to go dry and start scorching cotton or anything like that. All right, so let's fire this. Bingo. We got vapors. 0.61, 0.54 to 61. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's right about where I want to do it. Now, let's just put this on. And because I like to, when I put the bell housing on, I like to make sure that it's in the ohm reader. So this way I make sure that I don't have any shorts or anything like that. I know this is a smaller coil in here, so it shouldn't be, but you never know. Always better to play it safe than sorry. All right, we're looking at 5.9 to 6.3, 5.8. Yeah, this thing's bouncing around. I think I'm going to need to change the batteries in this thing soon. When this thing starts bouncing around like this, it's usually the batteries that are starting to go south on me. All right, so let's fill this up. Remember, this is 4 mil capacity. And pretty much there we go. Oh, and I'm getting juice all over the place here. Duh. Yeah, okay. Clean that up later. This is what happens when you start getting really tired. Start making stupid little mistakes. And put that on there. Make sure the juice flow control is open. And you can see we got a couple of tiny little air bubbles there that are coming out, and got a couple there. All right, let's zoom this back out again. If I can find the controls here. That's a little too far. There we go. Okay. All right, let's see what we got. 0.57. Yeah. That's It's working. 0.61. Cool. That'll come down in a minute or two. Foggy. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to head back up to topside, and we'll discuss this tank a little bit more. Okay? Meet you topside. Hey everybody, glad to see you made it topside all in one piece. Okay, first off, before we start getting into the discussion on this tank, and I start jabbering my jowls from now until doomsday, I have a couple of things I have to say. One, this, what you're seeing right now, this FaceTime right here, is being recorded on Friday, the 19th of August. Okay, the build cam sequence that you saw earlier, that was filmed last Sunday. In the meantime, back on Wednesday, this came in, the Rouleau RX200S. I have been using the Rouleau now pretty much exclusively since it came in. Some of you may have seen the unbagging video I put up on my Facebook channel when it came in. Yeah, happy little camper. So I have been playing with this, so that's the reason why when you look at the end of the build cam, you'll see it's on a TC200 by eLeaf, and here it's sitting on a Wismec Rouleau. Okay, that's one. Two, I have had some personal communications recently, and it looks like the mundane world is going to be interjecting it into my personal life and, of course, the life here on YouTube in a very big way in the near future. I'm not going to get into it. Suffice it to say, you may be seeing quite a few less videos coming from me in the near future. I have no idea how this issue is going to be playing out just yet. I have to sit down and discuss things with my wife, and we have to figure out what is going to be best for us. So, yeah, just a fair warning. So if you see a lot less videos from me, no, I haven't gone off into the sunset because of August 8th or anything like that. I still, yeah, right there, August 8th. I still want you to go and take care of that. Still need you to help us fight for our vaping rights. All right, so I will still be here. There will be videos coming out from me. It just might be a little while before some come out. I will try and get a few out, but I have no idea yet what's going to happen. As soon as I know, you will know. Okay, that's point two. Now, let's get down to brass tacks here and start discussing this Merlin. This Merlin has been out now for a couple of months. 2-3 months, I forget exactly how long, but it's been out for a while. I've had this thing now for about a month and a half, give or take a little bit, and I have put it through its paces in many, many different ways. I have put it through space coils. I have put it through micro coils. I put it through stainless steel. I put it through Kanthal. I don't do titanium. I don't do nickel. Sorry, just don't do it. I have used 24, 26, 28, and 30 gauge in here. I have tried various wicking methods. And one of the reasons why I spent so much time in the build cam video working on that wicking is because I think it was like, I forget if it was the first or the second time, might have even been the third time. I got the wickedest dry hit from hell because I didn't have the wicking right. I'm not saying that it didn't wick. It wicked, but it was just very, very slow doing the wicking, okay? What it should normally do like that, it took minutes to do. And as such, the way I vape, minutes can be years, okay? Just saying. I can sit here and chain vape on this thing, sitting back watching TV and relaxing after a hard day's work, and I'll just be sucking on this thing. Yeah. And believe me, if that wicking is not right, you will get the dry hit from hell. It wasn't pretty. Believe me. Yes, wicking is very important on this. That's why I spent a lot of time on it. This tank is a good tank. It really is. It's a very, very good tank. When I first saw this thing and I saw the fact that it was primarily designed as a single coil tank, I got very interested. My eyes lit up, my ears perked up. You know, I'm just sitting there, I'm listening to the review that I saw from this big name reviewer who had it out and had the damn thing before it was even hitting the streets. And I'm looking at this thing and going, that's got possibilities. Sure enough, I was right. That's why I went out and I bought one of these things. Now, as some of you may know, if you're old hands at listening to my channel here, and for those of you who don't know because you're new to my channel, 90% of the stuff that I put out here on this channel, I do reviews on, either accessories or tanks and stuff like that, I purchase. There are a few pieces that I get free for the purposes of review, and I make note of that in the written channel stuff down below here anytime I get something that is free for review. Irregardless of whether it's free for review or if I go out and buy it, the reason why I'm putting it on this channel is because I'm interested in it, and I think that it will fit in very well with my vaping style. I have got a couple of things which I thought were absolutely horrific, and I said so, and I will continue to do so. So even if I buy something and it's horrible, I will tell you that it's horrible, and you can take that to the bank and deposit it. And if I tell you I think that something is good, it's because I actually do. Now, having said all of that, this, like I said before, I bought, and I really am glad that I did. Because this tank is easy to build. Those offset velocity posts, fantastic. The space there that they allow you for wicking. The cups are very large. They're generous, so you can get your wick in there very easily. And if you do the wicking the way I showed you in there, you're going to have no problems with it at all. None whatsoever. Because the wicking will turn around and will just soak up the juice like you wouldn't want to know. Okay? You see how much juice is missing out of there? I rejuiced this thing about maybe 5 minutes ago, and this thing is, well, that empty. Now, I have to tell you that this thing right now is not the exact same build that I did in the build cam. While the coil is the same, the wicking is roughly the same, it's not the same coil. The reason for that is I had to change my juice. I ran out of the other juice, and the juice that I had been using, I didn't have any more of. And I didn't have the flavorings necessary to make an exact duplicate of that, so I had to change the flavors and everything else. So that meant I had to re-wick. Because the wick was in there so nice and tight, as I was taking the wick out, even though I was doing so very gently, the coil decided to self-destruct, and I had to put in a new coil. So, having done all of that, I decided yet again to try it without the airflow restrictor in here. Just that way, when I do this section of the video right now that you're watching, you can get an idea of how this thing is going to act without the airflow restrictor in there. So let me show you how it works, okay? Yeah, okay. That's with the airflow wide open, no restrictor in there. This is a 26 gauge stainless steel 316L on a 2.5 millimeter mandrel, 10 wraps, space coil, wicked exactly the same way that I showed you in the video. That's the kind of clouds you can expect. Now, if you want to bring the coil down, let me show you. As you can see here, the coil that's in here right now, well, it's not wanting to do it. This is saying 0.72 ohms. Okay, so it's a little bit higher in ohms than the last one. So, but if you want to turn around, you want to take this thing down to 0.3, 0.4, you can multiply the clouds that you just saw by probably a factor of at least 1.5 to 2. Okay? Now, you can also try using the larger drip tip. I'm using a old Kanger drip tip on here because it's more comfortable for me. So that might even help you get some additional cloudage. Flavor wise, even with this thing wide open right now, the flavor on this is, while not exactly directly comparable to my K-Fun 5, it is, I would say, about 3/4 of the way there, even with this thing wide open. Okay? So you will get a nice flavorful vape on this thing, even with a lot of clouds. Okay? Yeah, believe it or not. The taste is going to be slightly diminished from what it would be if you had the airflow restrictor in here and you were running this thing at the same ohmage level that I'm doing it here at. Yeah, that's the nature of the beast. More air, less flavor. You want more flavor, use less air. Okay? That's where it's at. So, to sum up here, because we're going on 12 minutes here, I want to tell you that this tank from me gets a very big thumbs up. Okay? If you want a single coil tank that's going to give you flavor and clouds everywhere along its spectrum, get this tank. It's easy to build. It's a joy to build on. You're going to love it. Having said all of that, I'm going to close with you now. All right? Take care. God bless. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be ever at your back. May the good Lord hold you in the hollow of his hand, and may you be in heaven a half an hour before the devil knows you're dead. Take care. God bless. Bye for now. Hey everybody, thanks. Yeah.